The space around Earth was quiet that morning. Commander Jack Murphy sat at his desk in the Earth Defense Station, drinking his third cup of coffee. He watched the green dots move across his computer screen. Each dot was a satellite or space station. Everything looked normal. Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez walked over to his desk. She held a tablet in her hands and looked worried. "Jack, look at this," she said. "The deep space sensors are picking up something strange." Jack looked at the tablet. Numbers flashed across the screen. The readings showed objects moving very fast toward their solar system. But the objects were still very far away. "Could be solar wind," Jack said. He had seen false readings before. Sometimes the sun created energy that looked like ships on their sensors. Amy shook her head. "I thought that too. But look at this pattern." She pointed to lines on the screen. "These readings are too organized. Too perfect. This is not natural." Jack stood up and walked to the main display screen. The screen was as big as a wall. It showed their entire solar system. At the very edge, small red dots appeared. There were many dots. Too many to count quickly. "How many?" Jack asked. Amy typed on her keyboard. Numbers appeared on the screen. 847 objects, she said. Her voice was quiet, all moving in perfect formation. Jack felt his heart beat faster. In all his years watching space, he had never seen anything like this. "Send an alert to all stations," he said. "Code yellow. Possible alien contact." Far away in space, Fleet Commander Kestar stood on the bridge of his ship. The ship was called the Dominion's Edge. It was the largest warship in the Zephyrian Empire. Around him, hundreds of other ships flew in perfect lines. Kestar was tall and thin. His skin was blue-gray, and his eyes were black. He had conquered many worlds for his empire. This mission would be easy. The planet ahead was home to a young species called humans. They had just learned to fly in space. They would surrender quickly. "Report," Kestar said to his science officer. Sub-Commander Velineth looked at his instruments. "The third planet. Shows signs of life, Commander. The species has built cities and machines. They have nuclear weapons, but nothing that can threaten us." Kestar smiled. Nuclear weapons were toys compared to his fleet's power. "How long until we reach their world?" 6 of their days, Commander." "Good. Prepare the surrender broadcast. Tell them their world now belongs to the Zephyrian Empire." On Earth, Dr. Lisa Grant ran through the halls of the International Space Consortium. She was the head of the Xenobiology department. Her job was to study alien life. But she had never expected to meet real aliens. She burst into the communications room. Dr. Kevin Blake was already there, working at a computer. Maria Santos sat nearby, adjusting radio equipment. "How much time do we have?" Lisa asked. Kevin looked up from his screen. 6 days, maybe less if they speed up. Maria turned around in her chair. "I've been trying to contact them." No response. "Yet, but I'm picking up signals between their ships. They're definitely talking to each other." Lisa sat down hard in a chair. 6 days to prepare for first contact with an alien species. It was not enough time. "What do we know about them?" "Not much," Kevin said. "The ships are huge. The biggest one is 5 miles long. They're using technology we don't understand. And there are a lot of them." Lisa thought about all the movies she had watched about aliens. Most of them ended badly for humans. "Are they trying to communicate with us?" Maria shook her head. "Nothing yet. But we're ready if they do." Back on the Dominion's Edge, Kestar studied reports about the human species. The reports came from long-range scans of their planet. Humans were interesting, but not dangerous. They fought wars with each other, using simple weapons. They had split their world into many small nations. They would be easy to control. "Commander," Velineth said, We're detecting more human installations than expected. They have bases on their moon and on the fourth planet. Kestar looked at the tactical display. Red dots marked human bases throughout their solar system. There were more than his scouts had reported. Are any of them armed? Some show weapon signatures, but nothing that can harm our ships. Kestar was not worried. Humans were like all the other species his empire had conquered. They would fight at first. Then they would see how powerful the Zephyrian fleet was. Then they would surrender. Continue. On course, he ordered Dot on Earth. News of the alien fleet spread quickly. Lieutenant Colonel Steve Parker sat in a deep underground room at NORAD. General Patricia Wells stood behind him, watching screens that showed the approaching ships. Options? General Wells asked. Captain Ryan Foster looked up from his computer. Limited, ma'am. Our best weapons are nuclear missiles. But the alien ships are too big and too far away. Steve rubbed his forehead. We could try to contact them. Show them we're intelligent. Maybe they'll talk instead of fight. General Wells nodded. Do it. But prepare all defenses too. If they want to fight, we'll give them one. The alien fleet moved closer each hour. People on Earth watched the news and worried. Some packed their bags and tried to leave the cities. Others went to churches and prayed. A few scientists worked day and night to find a way to communicate with the aliens. Dr. Grant had not slept in 2 days. She sat in her lab, surrounded by books and computers. She was trying to understand how to talk to a species from another world. The math was universal. She thought all intelligent species would understand numbers. Maria Santos had built a powerful radio transmitter. She aimed it at the alien fleet and broadcast simple mathematical sequences. 2 + 2 = 4. 3 × 3 = 9. The square root of 16 is 4. For hours, she sent the same messages over and over. The alien fleet did not respond. On the alien flagship, communication officers detected the human broadcasts. They brought the messages to Kestar. The humans are trying to communicate, Commander, the officer said. Kestar looked at the simple math problems. Ignore them, he said. We don't negotiate with primitives. In 4 days, we'll be in orbit around their world. Then they'll understand their situation. As the alien fleet moved through space, more human installations detected them. Space stations sent urgent messages to Earth. The crews were scared, but stayed at their posts. They knew their job was important. The aliens scanned every human base they passed. They noted the defensive weapons and the number of people. The information would help them plan their attack, but Kestar was confident. His fleet had conquered 17 other worlds. Each time, the local species had surrendered after seeing Zephyrian power. The humans would do the same. He did not know that this conquest would be different. He did not know about the ancient guardians who watched over young species. He did not know about the invisible barrier that protected Earth. In 3 days, his fleet would discover that some worlds could not be conquered. 3 days later, the alien fleet reached the edge of Earth's space. Kestar stood on his bridge, watching the blue planet grow larger on his screens. Soon, this world would belong to his empire. Send the scout ships forward, he ordered. Begin. Detailed scans of their defenses. 20 small ships broke away from the main fleet. They moved fast toward Earth, their sensors active. The lead scout ship was called Razor's Edge. Its captain, Subleader Nixval, had done this many times before. On Earth, Lieutenant Colonel Steve Parker watched his screens with growing fear. The alien scouts were moving closer. In a few hours, they would reach Earth's atmosphere. All defense stations report status, he said into his microphone. Voices came back from around the world. Moscow ready, London ready, Tokyo ready. Every major city had weapons pointed at the sky. General Patricia Wells stood next to Steve. "Think it will be enough?" she asked. Steve shook his head. "Probably not, but we have to try." The alien scout ships moved past the moon. They scanned the human bases there and found nothing dangerous. The weapons were too small to hurt their ships. Captain Ryan Foster tracked the scouts on his computer. "They're slowing down," he reported. "Distance to Earth atmosphere, 50,000 miles. But then something strange happened. The lead scout ship suddenly stopped moving. It just hung in space, not moving forward or backward. "What's wrong with their engines?" General Wells asked. Steve watched his screen carefully. "I don't think it's their engines, ma'am. Look at this." He pointed to a line on his display. "They've hit something, but there's nothing there." On the scout ship Razor's Edge, alarms were ringing. Sub-Leader Nixville stared at his instruments. In confusion, his ship had full power. His engines were working perfectly, but he could not move forward. "Report," he shouted. His pilot turned around with wide eyes. "Sir, we've hit a barrier, but sensors show nothing there." "That's impossible," Nixville said. He walked to the front window of his ship. Space looked empty. But when he ordered his ship to move forward, nothing happened. It was like hitting a wall made of nothing. He sent a message back to the main fleet. "Command, we've encountered an unknown obstacle. Request instructions." On the Dominion's edge, Kestar received the message with anger. "A barrier? What kind of barrier?" Sub-Commander Valenith studied his sensors. "Commander, I'm detecting energy readings around the human planet. But the source is unknown. The barrier appears to be invisible." Kestar had never heard of such technology. "Fire on it," he ordered. "Use low-power weapons first." The scout ships turned their guns toward the invisible wall. Bright blue energy beams shot out. The beams hit something and scattered like light hitting water. But nothing happened to the barrier. On Earth, Dr. Lisa Grant was in her laboratory. When her equipment started beeping loudly, Dr. Kevin Blake ran to his instruments. "Lisa, look at this," he called. "Massive energy readings around the planet. It's like someone turned on a giant shield." Lisa looked at the numbers on her screen. "But we didn't build this. We don't have this technology." Maria Santos was listening. "To radio signals from space? The aliens are trying to break through something," she reported. "They sound confused." Kestar was more than confused. He was angry. No primitive species had ever stopped his fleet before. "Use heavy weapons," he ordered. "Full power." The main fleet moved closer to the barrier. The huge warships aimed their biggest guns at the invisible wall. Plasma cannons fired. Quantum missiles exploded. Energy weapons that could destroy cities. Hit the barrier. Nothing worked. Every attack just scattered harmlessly. The barrier stayed strong. Dr. Michelle Turner was studying the energy readings when she made a discovery. She was an environmental scientist, but she understood energy patterns. "The barrier is drawing power from somewhere," she told Dr. Grant, "but I can't find the source. It's like the energy is coming from everywhere and nowhere at the same time." Tony Mitchell was Earth's best communications expert. He had been trying to talk to the aliens for days. Finally, his radio crackled to life. A strange voice spoke in broken English. "Humans of Earth, we are the Zephyrian Empire. Remove your barrier. Surrender your world. You cannot resist us." Tony quickly sent back a message. "We don't know about any barrier. We didn't build it. We want to talk peacefully." The alien voice was silent for a long time. Then it came back, angrier. "You lie. Only your species could control this technology. Remove the barrier, or we will destroy your world." Tony looked at his equipment helplessly. How could he convince them that humans had nothing to do with the barrier? Kestar paced his bridge like a caged animal. 17 worlds had fallen to his fleet. Now these humans were stopping him with technology he couldn't understand. "Bring up the planet killer," he ordered. Veleneth looked shocked. "Commander, that weapon will destroy their entire world. We won't be able to take any prisoners or resources." "I don't care," Kestar snarled. "If I can't have this world, no one can." The largest ship in the fleet moved forward. It was called Galaxy's End, and it carried a weapon that could crack planets in half. The ship was 10 miles long and bristled with guns. Captain Nicole Hayes commanded the orbital defense platform. Liberty. She watched the huge alien ship approach with fear in her heart. Her weapons officer, Lieutenant Alex Brown, sat ready at his controls. "Ma'am, should we fire?" Alex asked. Nicole shook her head. "Our weapons can't even scratch that thing. We just have to hope the barrier holds." Systems analyst Sergeant Chris Evans was monitoring the alien ship's energy levels. "Captain, they're charging something big. Energy levels are off the charts." Galaxy's End powered up its core breaker cannon. This weapon could destroy the core of a planet, making it explode from the inside. It had never failed before. The cannon fired. A beam of pure destruction shot toward Earth. For a moment, everyone thought the barrier would break, but the beam hit the invisible wall and bounced back. The reflected energy slammed into Galaxy's End. The huge ship shook and sparked. Parts of its hull cracked and broke. Kestar fell to the floor of his bridge as his ship was damaged by its own weapon. Around him, his officers looked terrified. "Impossible," Veleneth whispered. "Nothing can reflect a core breaker beam." But something else was happening. The barrier, which had been invisible, started to glow. Soft light rippled across it like an aurora, and new energy signals appeared throughout the solar system. Dr. Grant watched her instruments with amazement. "Kevin, are you seeing this? The barrier is active now, and there are similar energy signatures appearing near other planets. Not just in our solar system," Kevin said, looking at deep space sensors. "I'm detecting the same energy patterns around other star systems. Dozens of them." On his ship, Kestar stared at the glowing barrier around Earth. For the first time in his military career, he felt real fear. Whatever protected this world was more powerful than his entire fleet, but he was too proud to retreat. The Zephyrian Empire had never been stopped by anyone. He would find a way through this barrier, no matter what it cost. He did not know that his attack had awakened something very old and very powerful, something that had been waiting for thousands of years. To protect species like humanity, the real fight was about to begin. Dr. Rachel Morgan had been working for 3 days without sleep. She was Earth's best language expert. Her job was to understand the alien signals and help humans talk to them. Her assistant, Professor Daniel Cooper, brought her coffee and a sandwich. "You need to eat something," he said. "You'll collapse if you keep going like this." Rachel looked up from her computer. Numbers and symbols covered her screen. "I'm making progress, Daniel. The aliens use mathematical concepts in their language. I think I can build a translation program." Through hours of careful work, Rachel and Daniel learned more about the Zephyrian Empire. The aliens had sent detailed messages about their previous conquests. They seemed proud of destroying other worlds. "Listen to this," Rachel said. She played a translated alien message. The Corvani system fell in 3 days. The Mendari lasted 1 week. The Ilthari surrendered without fighting. All species learn that resistance is useless. Daniel counted on his fingers. That's 17 different species they've conquered. 17 entire civilizations destroyed. Rachel felt sick. These aliens were not explorers or traders. They were destroyers. They traveled from world to world, conquering everyone they met in space. Captain Nicole Hayes commanded her defense platform. Her crew worked around the clock to monitor the alien fleet. Weapons Officer Lieutenant Alex Brown watched the enemy ships through powerful telescopes. "They're acting strange," Alex reported. "Some ships are backing away from the barrier. Others are scanning everything in the solar system." Systems analyst Sergeant Chris Evans was studying alien communication signals. "Captain, they're arguing among themselves. The fleet commander wants to keep attacking, but some officers think they should retreat." Nicole understood their confusion. The barrier made no sense. Humans didn't have the technology to build such a thing. So who did? On the alien flagship, historian Jackson made a discovery that shocked everyone. He was studying Earth's electromagnetic signals when he found something impossible. "Commander Kestar," he called. "You need to see this immediately." Kestar walked over to Jackson's station. The historian's screen showed energy patterns from Earth's surface. "What am I looking at?" Kestar asked. "Energy signatures from the human planet," Jackson explained. "But these patterns are millions of years old. They're coming from ancient structures on the surface." Kestar stared at the display. "That's impossible. Humans have only been intelligent for a few thousand years." "Exactly, Commander. Someone else built these structures. Someone with technology far beyond ours." On Earth, Dr. Lisa Grant received an urgent call from Dr. Paul Garcia. Paul was an expert in ancient civilizations, and he sounded very excited. "Lisa, you have to come to the lab right now," he said. "I've found something incredible." Lisa ran through the hallways to Paul's laboratory. Inside, he had maps and photographs spread across every table. "Look at this," Paul said. He pointed to pictures of ancient stone circles in England. "Stonehenge is giving off the same energy signature as the barrier on Earth." Lisa looked at the energy readings. They were identical. "That's impossible. Stonehenge is thousands of years old." "It gets better," Paul said. He showed her more pictures. The pyramids in Egypt, ancient temples in Cambodia, stone circles in Scotland. All of these sites are giving off the same energy. They're connected to the barrier somehow. Dr. Grant stared at the evidence. Ancient humans couldn't have built technology this advanced. So who did? The answer came from space. As the alien fleet continued their scans, they detected something that made them very afraid. Other star systems were showing the same energy barriers. Sub-Commander Veleneth brought the news to Kestar. "Commander, we have a problem. The Corvani system is now protected by a barrier like Earth's. So is Mendari space and the Ilthari home world." Kestar felt his blood turn cold. "How many systems?" 17, Commander. "Every world we conquered now has a barrier around it." Kestar realized what this meant. Something had been watching his empire's conquests. Something powerful enough to protect entire worlds. And now it was stopping him from taking new ones. Dr. Helen Murphy was Earth's best quantum physicist. She worked with computer specialist Jake Williams to understand the barrier's technology. What they found scared them. "This isn't just a shield," Helen explained to the other scientists. "It's connected to a network that spans the entire galaxy." Jake showed them his computer models. The energy flows between star systems instantly, faster than light. That should be impossible according to our physics. Dr. Grant studied the network map. Lines of energy connected hundreds of star systems. Some lines were bright and active. Others were dim or dark. "The bright lines connect to worlds with barriers," she said. "But what about the dark lines?" Paul Garcia checked his historical data. Those matched the star systems the aliens conquered. The network was there, but it wasn't active. "Until now," Helen added, "something turned it on. Something that doesn't want the aliens to conquer any more worlds." The answer came in a message that appeared on every computer on Earth at the same time. It wasn't from the alien fleet. It was from something much older. Tony Mitchell was the first to receive the full message. His radio equipment picked up a signal unlike anything he had ever heard. The voice was calm and ancient. Young ones of Earth, do not fear. You are protected. The destroyers cannot harm you. We have watched your species grow. You show promise. You create beauty. You cooperate with each other. You are worthy of protection. The message continued. The destroyers have taken 17 worlds from us. 17 young species that might have grown to greatness. We allowed this to learn their nature. Now we act. Tony broadcast the message to every government on Earth. Within hours, everyone knew that humanity had guardians. Ancient beings were protecting Earth from the alien invaders. Commander Kestar received the same message on his ship. But for him, it was a warning. Destroyers of the Zephyrian Empire, you have committed great evil. You have ended 17 species before they could reach their potential. This ends now. Withdraw from this space and face judgment for your crimes, or continue your attack and face destruction. Kestar's hands shook as he read the message. His empire had conquered worlds for hundreds of years. No one had ever stopped them before. Now these ancient guardians were threatening his entire fleet. War Prime Dekthar, his military advisor, read the message over his shoulder. Commander, we should withdraw. These beings have technology beyond our understanding. But Kestar's pride would not let him retreat. No, he said. The Zephyrian Empire bows to no one. We will find a way through this barrier. He turned to his officers. Double our attack efforts. Use every weapon we have. I want that barrier broken. The alien fleet prepared for a massive assault. Every ship charged its weapons. They would throw everything they had at the invisible, wall protecting Earth. But the ancient guardians were ready for them. Deep in space, structures began to appear. Ships that were larger than entire cities. Technology that could reshape reality itself. The architects, as they called themselves, had watched over young species for millions of years. They had seen the rise and fall of countless civilizations. They knew which species deserved protection and which were too dangerous to live. Humanity had passed their test. The aliens had failed it long ago. The final battle was about to begin. Dr. Helen Murphy had not left her laboratory in 2 days. Her quantum physics equipment covered every table. Computer specialist Jake Williams sat nearby, typing rapidly on 3 keyboards at once. I've figured out how the network works, Helen sighed. Her voice was tired but excited. The energy travels through folded space. That's why it's faster than light. Jake looked up from his computers. It's like the entire galaxy is connected by invisible highways. The architects can send energy and information anywhere instantly. They had been studying the barrier around Earth for days. What they found amazed them. The network connected thousands of star systems across the galaxy. But only some of them had active protection. Colonel Susan Ford walked into the laboratory. She worked for the Pentagon and wanted to understand Earth's new guardians. With her was intelligence analyst Major Tim Clark. Dr. Murphy, Colonel. Ford said, we need to know why Earth is protected. Why us? What makes humans special? Helen showed them her research. It's not about technology or military power. The network responds to something else, something in the mind. Major Clark studied the data on Helen's computers. Brain patterns? More than that, Jake explained. The network scans for specific neural activity. It looks for creativity, empathy, and cooperation. Species that work together get protection. Species that only destroy others don't. Colonel Ford understood. The aliens failed the test. We passed it. Dr. Lisa Robinson was a marine biologist, but she had been working with the team to understand the Architect Network. She made an important discovery while studying dolphin communication. The network doesn't just protect humans, she told the group. It's protecting our entire planet. Every intelligent species here, dolphins, whales, even some primates, they all show the neural patterns the architects look for. Dr. Peter Martinez, an anthropologist, had been studying human development throughout history. I think the architects have been watching us for thousands of years. Every time we created art, music, or literature, they were recording it. But why? Colonel Ford asked. Because art means imagination, Dr. Martinez explained. And imagination means the ability to grow beyond what you are. The aliens only think about conquest. We think about beauty, love, and making things better. In space, the Zephyrian fleet was discovering that their problems were much bigger than just Earth. Sub-Commander Velenev brought more bad news to Commander Kestar. Commander, we're detecting active defense networks around 43 star systems. All of them are worlds we plan to conquer in the next phase of expansion. Kestar stared at the star charts. Red marks showed every system with barrier protection. His entire conquest plan was ruined. How is this possible? He demanded. These barriers appeared overnight. Not overnight, Commander, Velenev said quietly. I think they were always there. We just activated them by attacking Earth. Kestar realized the horrible truth. The architects had been waiting for his empire to reveal its true nature. By attacking a protected world, he had triggered defenses across the galaxy. Communication specialist Mitchell received another message from the architects. This time, it was longer and more detailed. Children of Earth, we are the architects. We have existed since before your son was born. Our purpose is to guide young species toward greatness. The message continued. Long ago, we were like you. We fought wars and conquered others. But we learned that destruction leads only to emptiness. True strength comes from creation, not conquest. We watch all developing species. Those who show wisdom and compassion receive our protection. Those who choose violence and domination face our judgment. Mitchell shared the message with world leaders. Everyone wanted to know more about these ancient guardians. The architects explained their history. We have seen 1 million species rise from primitive beginnings. Some learned to cooperate and create beauty. Others learned only to destroy and consume. The destroyers always fail in the end. The creators survive and grow. Your species shows great promise. You make music that moves the soul. You write stories that teach wisdom. You help those who cannot help themselves. This is why you are protected. But the message also contained a warning. The destroyers will not accept defeat easily. They will try to break through our barriers. We will not allow this. If they persist, they will face the consequences of their choices. On the Dominion's edge, Kestar was planning his final attack. He had gathered every weapon in his fleet. If he could not break the barrier with force, he would try something else. Deploy the reality disruptors, he ordered. If we can't break through the barrier, we'll break the space around it. War Prime Dekthar looked worried. Commander, reality disruptors are experimental weapons. We don't know what will happen if we use them near an inhabited planet. I don't care, Kestar said. I will not be the first Zephyrian commander to retreat from a primitive world. The reality disruptors were weapons that could tear holes in space itself. They had never been used in combat before. Kestar was willing to risk destroying Earth if he couldn't conquer it. But the architects were watching. Deep in space, massive structures began to materialize. They were ships, but calling them ships was like calling a mountain a hill. Dr. Grant's team detected the new arrivals on their sensors. The objects were enormous. The smallest one was larger than Earth's moon. My God, Dr. Blake whispered. How Is something that big even possible? The architect ships appeared throughout the solar system. They moved without any visible engines. They seemed to bend space around them as they traveled. Captain Nicole Hayes watched from her defense platform as one of the ships positioned itself between Earth and the alien fleet. The ship was beautiful. It looked like it was made of crystal and light. All stations, she broadcast. Hold your fire. Do not attack the new arrivals. I repeat, do not engage. On the alien flagship, panic spread through the crew. The architect ships dwarfed their entire fleet. A single one of those vessels could probably destroy every Zephyrian ship at once. Commander, Villeneuve said, I'm reading energy levels beyond our instrument's ability to measure. These ships could crack our planet in half. For the first time in his career, Kestar felt true fear, but his pride would not let him back down. Continue with the attack, he ordered. All ships, fire everything. The Zephyrian fleet unleashed every weapon they had. Plasma cannons, quantum missiles, gravity bombs, and reality disruptors all fired at once. The space around Earth lit up, like a star, but none of the weapons reached their targets. The architect ships created energy fields that absorbed every attack. The most powerful weapons in the Zephyrian arsenal simply disappeared. Then the architects responded. But they didn't attack with weapons. Instead, they sent a signal directly into the minds of every Zephyrian in the fleet. Suddenly, Kestar could see and feel everything his empire had done. He experienced the terror of the Corvani as their cities burned. He felt the despair of the Mendari as their children died. He lived through the final moments of 17 different species. The psychological assault was overwhelming. Across the fleet, Zephyrian officers collapsed. They were forced to experience every life their empire had destroyed. Every family torn apart. Every dream crushed. Kestar fell to his knees on his bridge. Tears streamed down his face as he felt the pain of billions of beings his empire had killed. For the first time, he understood what his conquests really meant. Judgment of the architects was not death, it was truth. And the truth was more terrible than any weapon. The judgment lasted for 3 hours. Every member of the Zephyrian fleet experienced the destruction their empire had caused. When it ended, most of them could barely stand. Commander Kestar lay on the floor of his bridge, shaking. He had felt the death of billions of innocent beings. The weight of their suffering crushed his spirit. Around him, his officers wept or stared at nothing. Then the architects spoke directly to him. Their voice filled his mind. Kestar of the Zephyrian Empire, you have seen the truth of your actions. 17 species destroyed. Countless billions of lives ended. All for the glory of conquest. Kestar tried to speak, but could only whisper. I didn't know. I never felt their pain before. Ignorance is not innocence, the architects replied. You chose not to see their suffering. You chose to value power over life. But choice can be changed. The voice continued. We offer you a path to redemption. Help us restore what you have destroyed. Use your knowledge to rebuild instead of destroy. This is your only chance for forgiveness. On Earth, Dr. Lisa Grant stood in the communication center with world leaders from every nation. The architects had asked to speak directly with humanity's representatives. Dr. Benjamin Scott, a philosopher, sat next to Dr. Amanda Davis, an expert in ethics. They would help humanity understand what the architects wanted. The ancient voice spoke through every communication. Device on Earth, children of Earth, you have passed our test. Your species shows the qualities we seek in young civilizations. You create beauty. You help each other. You dream of a better future. President Martinez of the United States spoke for Earth. We are honored by your protection, but we want to understand. What test did we pass? The test of character, the architects explained. We have watched your species for 50,000 years. We saw you create the first cave paintings. We watched you develop music and poetry. We observed as you learned to care for those who could not care for themselves. Dr. Scott leaned forward, but we also fight wars. We hurt each other. How can we pass any test of goodness? Perfection is not required, the architect said. Growth is. Your species makes mistakes, but you learn from them. You have slavery in your past, but you abolished it. You had world wars, but you created peace treaties. You damage your environment, but you work to repair it. The voice grew warmer. Most importantly, you create things of beauty that serve no purpose except to bring joy. Music that makes hearts soar. Stories that teach wisdom. Art that captures the soul. This is what separates creators from destroyers. Dr. Davis asked the question everyone was thinking, what happens now? Will you always protect us? Protection is not forever, the architects replied. It is a gift to help you grow. When your species is ready, you will join the community of mature civilizations. You will help us protect other young species. The communication continued, but first you must help us repair the damage done by the destroyers. 17 species were ended before their time. Some can be restored. Others are lost forever. We need your creativity and compassion for this work. Captain Nicole Hayes watched from her defense platform as more architect ships appeared around Earth, but these ships were different. They were smaller and seemed designed for peaceful purposes. All stations, she announced, were being invited aboard the architect vessels. Volunteer crews only. This is first contact with our guardians. Lieutenant Alex Brown raised his hand immediately. I volunteer, Captain. Sergeant Chris Evans nodded. Me too. This is the chance of a lifetime. On the alien flagship, Kestar received a different message from the architects. Commander of the destroyers. Your fleet will be escorted to a neutral system. There, you will face the survivors of the species you destroyed. You will answer for your crimes. But you will also be given a chance to make amends. Sub-Commander Veleneth looked at his commander with new eyes. The judgment had changed him. The proud, cruel warrior was gone. In his place was a broken being who finally understood the cost of his actions. What are your orders, Commander? Veleneth asked quietly. Kestar struggled to his feet. We surrender, he said. Order all ships to power down weapons. We will go with the architects. War Prime Dekthar stared at his commander in shock. Surrender? The Empire will court-martial us for this. The Empire is finished, Kestar replied. We've been living a lie. Conquest isn't strength. It's weakness. It's the easy path that leads nowhere. Dr. Grant was selected to be part of the first human delegation to meet the architects. She traveled to one of their ships with Dr. Blake, Maria Santos, and several other scientists. The inside of the architect ship was beautiful beyond description. The walls seemed to be made of living light. Patterns flowed through them like slow rivers of color. In the center of the ship, the humans met their first architect. It was hard to describe what they saw. The being seemed to be made of energy and thought rather than solid matter. Welcome, children of Earth, the architect said. Its voice was warm and musical. I am called Harmony by those who know us. I have watched your species since your first steps toward civilization. Dr. Grant found her voice. You've been watching us for that long? Time moves differently for us, Harmony explained. We exist partly outside normal space. What seems like ages to you is moments to us. We have seen your entire history unfold. Dr. Blake asked, why didn't you contact us before? Contact must come at the right time, Harmony said. Too early, and young species become dependent on us. Too late, and they may choose the wrong path. You are contacted now because you faced a test you passed. Maria Santos was recording. Everything. What about the other species? The ones the aliens destroyed? Harmony's light dimmed with sadness. Some are gone forever, but others left genetic samples, recorded memories, cultural artifacts. With your help, we can restore them to new worlds. They will live again. The architect showed them images of the destroyed civilizations. The Corvani had been artists who painted with light. The Mendari were musicians who created songs from mathematical formulas. The Ilthari were builders who grew cities like gardens. Each species had unique gifts, Harmony explained. Together, they might have created wonders beyond imagination. The destroyers ended those possibilities. But you can help us create new ones. Over the following weeks, Earth became the center of an amazing transformation. Architect ships brought survivors from distant worlds. Species that had hidden from the Zephyrian Empire came out of the shadows. Commander Jack Murphy and Lieutenant Amy Rodriguez watched from their monitoring station as peaceful vessels arrived daily. Traders, explorers, artists, and scientists from dozens of different worlds. Look at this, Amy said, pointing to her screen. A ship full of crystalline beings who communicate through music. Another one carrying plant-like creatures who terraform dead worlds into gardens. Jack smiled. Earth isn't alone anymore. We're part of something bigger. The Zephyrian fleet was taken to a system called Haven. There, they met the few survivors of the species they had destroyed. It was painful for both sides, but it was necessary. Kestar stood before a council of beings his empire had wronged. A Corvani elder, her light dim with age and sorrow, spoke first. Your people destroyed our homeworld. Billions of my kind died. In flames. Our art galleries, our light sculptures, our greatest works, all gone. Kestar knelt before her. I cannot undo what was done, but I can spend the rest of my life trying to make amends. Tell me how. The elder studied him for a long moment. Help us rebuild. Use your ships to carry our people to new worlds. Use your knowledge to restore what was lost. This will not bring back the dead, but it might give meaning to their sacrifice. Dr. Grant led a team of humans who worked with thee, architects to establish new colonies for the restored species. It was hard work, but it filled her with purpose. Dr. Martinez studied the cultures of the destroyed civilizations, helping to preserve their knowledge. Dr. Turner worked on restoring damaged ecosystems. Tony Mitchell helped establish communication networks between all the different species. 6 months after first contact, humanity hosted the first Galactic Restoration Council on Earth. Representatives from 47 different species gathered. To plan the rebuilding effort, Commander Murphy stood in the same monitoring station where he had first detected the alien fleet. But now his screens showed hundreds of friendly ships coming and going from Earth. Lieutenant Rodriguez joined him. Remember when we thought we were alone in the universe? Jack laughed. Seems like a lifetime ago. Now we're part of something amazing. The architects had given humanity a great gift. Not just protection, but purpose. Earth became a center for healing the wounds left by centuries of conquest and destruction. Kestar spent his remaining years helping to restore the Corvani civilization. He never forgot the judgment of the architects, but he learned to transform his guilt into action. His former warriors became builders and gardeners. The Zephyrian Empire crumbled as its soldiers learned the truth about their conquests. Most chose to join the restoration effort. A few tried to continue the old ways and were stopped by the architect network. Years later, Dr. Grant stood in the same laboratory where she had first learned about the alien fleet. But now she was preparing for humanity's next great step. The architects say we're ready, she told her team. Ready to help protect other young species. D.